This is your garden walk for October 16th, 2023. I was thinking about doing something about the Israel-Palestine thing, and I thought, I'll just tell you, watch Gray Zone and Vanessa Beeley and see what you think. I think the facts are what they are. And if you're not offended by what's being done, then I don't know what to tell you. So, back at politics ends. Gardening begins. This is my probably 50 cents from the thrift shop, but you can buy one for, I think, about $4. It's a permanent coffee filter. So it goes in there, in Mr. Coffee Maker. It's not a Mr. Coffee, it's not the brand, it's just Mr. This and Mr. That. This is a plastic coffee thing. Reuse, recycle, reuse some more, donate to thrift shops. Save, repair, give away. That's my ecological message for the day. That's done. This is coffee grounds. You take this thing and you go, whop! And that kind of knocks the grounds out. Kinda. And then every day I make a run with the dishwasher, but I use cold water, a very small amount of detergent, and I only run it on rinse and hold. I soak it in the sink first, and then I scrub it with the brush, and then I stick it in the dishwasher. And the dishwasher handles like the rinsing and all and gets it all nice and clean and stuff like that. And so tour guide is ready. And we're off. Yesterday, I watched a video of a guy was, how do you compost coffee grounds? I was like, what? Coffee grounds are compost. And according to him, you have to mix cardboard with them. Well, no. You don't need worms. Worms are okay. You want worms in your garden. You don't want them in. The reason for having worms in your compost is because you use the worms to fish with and catch fish and eat the fish. Because we are organic gardeners today and we are talking about eating. Well, and pretty things around like these Mexican lilacs. These I got from a neighbor last year. These were just one small shovelful each. And they're much bigger than that now. They'll be dormant when the frost comes, the tops die down. And those can be dug up and I can go ask Joe and I can probably get as many as I want. Which means if you want some of those things, you could try putting a like. Nobody tells me if they like these videos. I don't know. 160 people watched it. Nobody put a like on it. That's like, wow. There are too many of them watching. Must be somebody that liked it. Just, I don't know, stick one in there I'm not asking you for likes. I'm just saying, if you do like it, just put it on there and I'll know. Every couple of months I happen to notice my statistics, and then if I looked and saw that a bunch of people put likes, I'd be like, well, that's good. I made these videos for something. This is if you've watched the previous ones, or you can, that's landscape fabric with compost on top. And this is how real men compost. Make Mother Nature do all the work. You just throw the stuff on the ground. That's all you got to do. That's all Mother Nature ever did, and it's been working for millions of years. We throw it on the ground. Looks like this. Under the hose is one that's been here for a while. It looks like a big leaf. Over there is... We've got a zoom feature. Let's try it. That was a half a watermelon hull. But it's not anymore. There's a mower that'll never run again. Somebody might make a go-kart out of it or use it for kids coaster and just push the kids around behind or something. I don't know. But here's another one of my leaf like. That was a cantaloupe rind. So they reduce and then they go into the system, and the worms I'm going to just use as shorthand for worms and other burrowing things that live on detritus in the soil, creating aeration and drainage, which makes your roots go further down, and also reducing things so that they can be reutilized by the plants. Worms is going to stand for all that. You want worms. I don't have very many because this is a very dry area, but these are turnips and radishes. You can see what I'm doing to fight the winter grass weeds. Most of this stuff won't. There's some wheat back here in the back. There's little bits of it coming up over here and there. I made it from aspiring diabetic into the ranks, so now I have to watch my carbs. And so wheat's not as big a thing as it was to me. It's really good though, and I can send you some seed, and I can send you like an envelope. I think I can get away with about, at least a teaspoon of seeds. And you can grow a little bitty wheat patch just to play, and then you'll have seeds for a bigger one. It's $15 or 50 pounds if you can find that at a store around you. I just go down the street and there it is. But that's because I live in a farm community where we don't, there's nowhere to go to listen to live music or any stuff like that. There's not even a bar in town. This is compost. It's just the brush heap. If you throw it in a pile like this and you don't give a damn what happens to it, eventually it's gone. Our guide doesn't seem to be finding anything too interesting going on. So I was going to talk about a little bit about these coffee grounds. Coffee grounds, they say, well, they're acidic. They are. But most of the acid goes into your coffee. Then they're going to tell you, oh, this is so fortunate that I'm over by my ash dumps. I dumped ashes back here years ago because there were holes. Hell, I don't even know where they are now, but you put a whole wheelbarrow full of ashes in one spot, and stuff grows around it but not in that spot. But since I can't seem to even find those spots, and I'm the one that put them here, it gives you an idea what nature's done with it. Ashes contain all the minerals that were in the wood, because of course they do. Where's the minerals going to go? Mostly up the flue is carbon dioxide. And by the way, your wood stove is not polluting because that's in-cycle carbon. Comes out of the air, goes into the wood, comes out of the wood, goes into the air. That's not the problem. It's the stuff that comes out of the ground and goes into the air. Climate change is real. If we don't do anything, we're going to leave this planet really screwed up for later generations, because that's just the reality. I don't care if you think climate is a hoax. It's not. And no, Biden's not going to fix it. This is some wood off of I just cut the dead wood off these mesquites. Actually, I cut the little stuff with a Sawzall, but my chainsaw days are over. By the way, that's why the camera wiggles around so much. It's not not so much my hands shaking as it is my feet and ankles and knees and hip and da 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 da. This is the way back. It's just basically like a little 70 feet or so by 150 of land that I just come to visit like it was a little park. And if birds want to nest here or something, then that's totally fine. I don't want to trim the weeds. The code enforcement Little Caesars can come and cause grief. These are the mesquites here. You can see there's still some good foliage on it, but come frost there won't be. Mesquites basically grow and then they die back, and like this, I didn't cut this branch here off. It grew up and then it slowly sagged down and slowly died and got cut up for firewood when it was dead wood. That's what you do with mesquites, you just keep cutting the dead wood. And finally the tree itself will die, and then you're done after 50, 70 years. But little mesquites come up all the time. There's a mesquite bean right here. I got those probably all the time. If anyone wants to grow mesquites, you can look them up in this is how you get your fire starters around here. So you just, well, I snap a bunch of these off, throw in a paper grocery bag, and then I could take something like these weeds, all this dry crap, and stick it in a grocery bag. If I trimmed off something like that little restart there of the mesquite, which I'm not going to cut that, but if it was like on my path, you cut it up and stuff it in the grocery bag during the summer, and by winter the grocery bag sits in somewhere where the rain doesn't get on it, and it all dries up, and then that grocery bag can just be stuffed in the wood stove. This is just, there was a hackberry and it died because they're short-lived. I can get you hackberry seeds too. I don't know what you'd want them for, but it's a fast-growing, deciduous tree. You can look it up on the net very easily. Apparently our guide's not finding anything too important going on over there where you can hear him. There he is. Back there. Possible flea. He's hard to work. He did get a rat last night, so he didn't get it all by himself. It was in a glue trap, which I don't like to use those, but they work, so I don't like to have things chew into my food containers and pee on my canned goods and drop little pellets, and I don't like any of those things, so it's a trade-off. I can be mean to the rats, but he plays with them like a cat does, but not for long. They break. And then I guess he eats them or he buries them out here in the yard and digs them up. I don't know what he does with them. That's not my deal. If I find the glue trap out here, I'll throw it away. Here's some of this shameless ash dumping. It's just, it'll go into the soil and bring all these. It's got potassium and phosphorus in it mostly. And these grains here are wheat. My bag of wheat from last year I had last winter I planted from the bag, and this stuff here is from that bag. Something got into it and made some stuff that's almost like flour out of it. If you were any kind of farmer, you'd rake this wheat seed in. That's the thing to do. Or if you were lazy, you'd probably just go over there and get this like 1949 48N. It's about that year. And run the tandem disc over. You just let it down until it's just touching but not really dragging in. So that's what we would do. Finishing up on composting that. Your coffee grounds are somewhat acetic, but they're weed free. They're finely ground. Ashes are somewhat basic, which is the opposite of acetic. And how basic they are, I don't know. I can't leach lye out of my mesquite and hackberry. There's no lye. But it's somewhat basic. So you would take some ashes and some coffee grounds and put them together, and you could put leaf mold with them. You can take kind of anything. You can chip your leaf mold with your lawnmower. Just if you got a catch bag on it, it's really a nice thing for organic gardening. You got a catch bag, and here's how I mix this potting soil. If you got a catch bag and you go over even something like this stuff here, you could do in your grass and let it get mixed together, because that's a good mix of carbon and nitrogen between the green grass and the leaves. But as far as the recycle the cardboard or use it for your wood stove. You don't need to mix cardboard with your... And you don't want worms in... Remember what I said with the worms, they're not... I don't mean just the worms, but you don't want worms to process the compost, because worm castings are the compost at the bottom of its chemical energy. This is some branching daisy or something like that. It's a wildflower around here. Hard to get them going. I got this one. It's not exactly where I would have put it. I don't know why it's... Maybe I threw some seeds there at one time thinking, man, what the hell? Because that's kind of how a lot of things go around here. Nature's not going to listen to what I want anyway. The dog will, but nature doesn't. Here's what's left of the succulents. They would rather a cold winter than this summer was when most of them died. And I don't know what you can... If you water them too much, they'll rot the roots, but they can just wither too. This climate is just tremendous, horrible. Today is a beautiful day, but there's not many of them. It's a little bit cool is all. Long sleeve t-shirt type cool. This is the... I call it the dog yard. I've been making these tables with pallets. I was going to finish my story though with your... Take your probably sifted ashes and put some in your coffee grounds if you think they're too acid. And you need something, litmus paper or pH meter, which are pretty cheap on eBay. And find your own road there. These totes are hard to come by, but this is how you collect rainwater if you can get one of these things. See, there's the lumber rack slowly emerging from the weeds and everything. And we've got some old landscape, well, it's not old, but scrapped landscape fabric and blocks and an old plastic bin and some recycled plumber's tape, and that's all stuff to use for the fixing the fence and like that. So anyway, your coffee grounds are basically already done, and you can just mixing some ashes is good, but you don't have to. And and if you're going to get into all that pH stuff, then you're going to need to be able to test, because nobody can tell you what the pH of your fireplace ash or barbecue ash is. If you don't have a canine bone chewer, that's what, if you look at Mr. P here, Poquito the Pit Bull. Mr. P, can we look at your head? I want to show you people your head. Mr. P. You see the way that head is made? That's just like a big hunk of bone. And it's just tremendous thick skull and huge jaw muscles. And he just eats like pork ribs like they were potato chips. So that gets the bones reduced down to whatever they get reduced to and wherever they get dumped out here in the garden, and that's nature recycles them from there. If you don't have one of these, puppies are usually, I got mine free. This Mr. P didn't cost me a dime, but it's a lot of work. You gotta let him in and let him out and let him out and let him in and let him in. And where does he, how did he even, oh what, oh he's they're scratching at the door again, just a minute. There's a tractor. So, any of this compost, look, your elements are not going to change. So, well, that's not really true. The carbon will, as the stuff deteriorates, the carbon is going to turn into carbon dioxide. Okay, so these fresh pieces of junk that I threw on the ground are feeding the worms. And the worms are aerating the garden. So why would I want to put it in a compost pile and let a bunch of bacteria eat what would have fed the worms? What's the point of that? There is no point. It just means less wormholes in your garden. Now, if you have stuff that, coastal Bermuda grass is a given around here. Look at that stuff. That's all coastal over there. That is some nasty stuff. I mean, most gardeners don't have to deal with Bermuda grass. I'd consider Bermuda grass, it's just Bermuda grass. That's not a bad weed. I'll show you some bad weeds. See how there's a bunch of weeds coming out of this compost? That's because it's just fresh mulch. It's just as raked. But it's on top of the landscape fabric, and it's been getting water every day because the sprinkler has been on. Because I wanted these squashes and watermelons and cantaloupes not to dry out. But otherwise you would take all that stuff, you see a little patch of green over there too. Take all that stuff and mix it with horse manure and chicken manure and dampen it and throw it in a big heap. And you don't need to buy anything to do composting. You don't need to put it on top of a tarp. You can, but if you got an old tarp, yeah, but don't buy stuff. Don't spend money on it. Just throw it on the ground. And then if you put like a whole pickup truck full, like 3 yards of horse manure and sawdust and blah blah yabba yabba, chip brush, whatever, and if it's all real woody stuff like chip brush, you put chicken manure on it if you can get it. I used urea once and it was damn good. Heats, cooks the weed seeds, and it only takes a couple of weeks. And then put it on the ground, because you want the worm activity in the soil where your plants are going to benefit from the holes that the worms dug. This is not complicated. Anybody that tells you that you need to spend money to make compost, just question that. Poquito doesn't believe it, do you? He's a good little guy, huh? Look at that guy. He's the guy. So we've done it.